It is a journey through the Bible with Mukhwana Isaac. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Today, I welcome you to episode 108. And indeed, we continue thanking God. We continue blessing His name for the marvels, for the wonders, for the things He continues doing in our lives. Yesterday, I introduced the coming of the Savior. We now arrive at the moment of the coming of the Savior. Today, I want us to look at the events surrounding the birth of John the Baptist. Prepare the Jews for the coming of the Redeemer, the one who prepared them. Among the pious people of the Anawim who hoped for the era, for the age of peace and holiness, when God would be known and loved, was a priest. That one priest named Zachariah. Remember when I talked about the poor of Yahweh, the Anawa, the Anawim, the poor servants of Yahweh? I mentioned a few names: Zachariah, Joseph. And so, this man was married to Elizabeth. They were both righteous before God, walking in all the commandments of the Lord, blameless. Luke chapter 1 verse 6. Their sorrow was not to have any child, for Elizabeth was barren, and they were now both old. While Zachariah was carrying out his priestly duty of burning incense alone at the altar of incense in the temple, the angel named Gabriel appeared to him, and fear fell upon him. But the Lord, the angel of God, said to him, "Do not be afraid, Zachariah, for your prayer is heard, and your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son, and you shall call his name John. And you will have joy and gladness, and many will rejoice at his birth." So the angel continues and says, "And he will turn many hearts, many sons of Israel, to the Lord their God, and he will go before him and in the spirit and power of Elijah." The prophets, especially Malachi, talked of Elijah coming again before the coming of the Messiah, that is John the Baptist. And of course, to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, the apparition of the angel and his startling words confused Zachariah. The one thought he grasped at the moment was that the angel was telling him that he and Elizabeth would have a child in their old age. The amazing things said about the future of the child had not yet penetrated into him. He did not see how it could be possible for his wife to have a child. And so Zachariah doubted about the one thing he had fully grasped of the angel's words. As a sign to the future realization of what Gabriel had foretold, Zachariah was made numb until the birth of the promised child. Talking was no more. When the child was born, Zachariah was able to speak again when he had to insist that the boy be named Zachariah. Actually, when he left the temple, people were asking him, "Man of God, what happened to you? It's like coming out of the temple, and he was not able to speak, just making signs, sign language. Now, then of course, all that had happened when Gabriel appeared to Zachariah and foretold the future of Zachariah's dampness until the birth of the child, and the fact of itself of Elizabeth's bearing of a child were so many indications to the people in Judea, and of course the truthfulness behind these events, and they all marveled. And all these things were talked about through all these the hill country of Judea, and all who had them laid them up in their hearts, saying, "What then will this child be?" That is Luke chapter 1, verse 64 to 66. In this way, God prepared the Jews for the future when John would call himself the one sent to prepare the way for the Lord. Gabriel had foretold John's sanctity, that he would bring many Jews back to God, and that he would be an Elijah preparing the people. The Jews would not fail to remember here the prophecy of Malachi chapter 3 verse 1, which they expected to be fulfilled just before the coming of the Messiah. "Behold, I send my messenger to prepare the way for me. The Lord whom you seek will suddenly come to his temple." That is what Elijah says. Malachi says about John. John is a future work of taking men back to God was a hint to the Jews not to expect the Messiah as a merely earthly deliverer. As soon as Zachariah could speak, he praised God and prophesied concerning his son, expressing himself in the vocabulary of the Anawim. We find this in Luke chapter 1 verse 67 to 79. The Benedictus. Every morning during the office of the hours, morning prayers, yes, the Benedictus, there is that antiphon, Benedictus antiphon, "Blessed be God, the God of Israel, for he has fulfilled his promise." That is a beautiful prayer. Now, Zachariah declares that God has come near his people, visited them, and redeemed them, not simply made a great political nation of them. He sees that God is fulfilling his promises to Abraham, and which were developed in the writings of the prophets. For the people who recite the Catena, there is also that kind of those words somewhere. The blessings he made, the promises made to Abraham and our fathers forever. So, all of these remarkable events surrounding the birth of John made the Jews of Judea look to the near future and wait for the day when John would have grown up. The people had been prepared, yes, by these events to expect the Messiah very soon, and God had already let them know what the Messiah would be: a redeemer from sin and a giver of true peace based on mercy of God and the holiness of man. God is kind. He did not push redemption onto us without our knowing it. He would not force the free will he had given us, nor did he let redemption come suddenly and unprepared. And so, by the birth and later the ministry of John, God prepared man to accept or refuse a spiritual redemption. And in this, the coming of the Redeemer and man's response to his call was like a second testing in the Garden of Eden. And that is why one saint remarked that the God who created you without your permission will never save you without you. Meaning God did not just enforce something on us. Redemption, salvation. It is free. There is what we call free will. I have been Mukhwana Isaac with the journey through the Bible. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And tomorrow we will look at Mary's calling to be the mother of the Redeemer. Stay blessed.